Elon Musk had become the target of a criminal gang. Unaware that he wasn't alone, a living legend accompanied him. Giant, a retired police dog. What seemed to be a peaceful evening at the park quickly turned into a tense showdown when Elon and Giant faced off against the dangerous criminals. Little did they know, Giant was far from an ordinary dog. He was a symbol of loyalty, courage, and extraordinary skill. Beneath the dim glow of the park's lights, Elon was savouring a rare moment of tranquility, while Giant, with his imposing presence and sharp eyes, remained ever vigilant. But that peaceful night would not last. With the instincts of a seasoned warrior, Giant was about to face a fateful challenge. A battle to protect his master and uphold justice. Giant was no ordinary dog. His upright ears and piercing gaze constantly scanned the surroundings, always on high alert. Every step he took exuded a calm confidence, but there was no denying the power behind it. Few knew that Giant had once been a star in the Federal Canine Unit, taking part in countless critical missions, from dismantling drug cartels to tracking down the most dangerous criminals. Though retired, Giant's protective instincts and razor-sharp awareness were as strong as ever. The park was quiet that night, yet something felt off. Elon had a strange feeling, like he was being watched. When he turned around, all he saw were branches swaying gently in the breeze. But Giant's behaviour had changed. He slowed down, his sharp eyes fixed on a distant, shadowy corner. "What is it, Giant?" Elon asked. Of course, Giant didn't answer. Instead, a low growl rumbled from his throat, his way of signalling danger. For Giant, threats didn't have to be seen, they could be felt. He picked up on the tiniest details that others overlooked. A faint movement, an unfamiliar scent in the air, or even the sound of footsteps trying to stay silent. Elon stopped walking, his gaze following Giant's. In the distance, under the flickering glow of a street lamp, 3 figures emerged. They stood motionless, as if waiting for something. A sense of unease crept into Elon, though he couldn't quite discern what was about to happen. Only Giant knew, and he was ready to face whatever came next. No one could have predicted that in just a few moments, this quiet stroll would turn into a heart-pounding confrontation. Giant, a symbol of courage and loyalty, was about to prove once again why he was considered a silent hero. Elon continued to walk slowly, but the tension in the air did not dissipate. Giant maintained his calm pace, but his ears were perked, and his sharp eyes stayed locked on the 3 figures ahead. Sensing the subtle change in Giant's demeanour, Elon instinctively tightened his grip on the leash, feeling the dog's heightened alertness. Under the faint streetlights, the group began to move, their steps deliberate as they advanced toward Elon and Giant. Their faces remained obscured in the shadows, but Elon didn't need to see them clearly to understand their intentions were far from good. Some of them spoke, his raspy voice dripping with mockery. "Oh, look at this. A tech billionaire strolling around like an ordinary guy, huh?" Bana let out a low, warning growl, but the group only laughed louder. Their derisive laughter echoed in the stillness of the park like a discordant melody. One of them stepped forward, pulling a shiny object from his pocket that gleamed faintly under the dim light. "A dagger. Don't make this hard, Mr. Musk," he sneered. "Hand over the watch and the phone, and you'll walk out of here safe." Elon didn't reply, his steady gaze fixed on them. Giant positioned himself protectively in front of Elon, growling louder, but he didn't lunge. Acting rashly was not Giant's style. He observed, calculated, and waited for the perfect moment. "I think that dog of yours needs to learn a lesson," another man said, his tone threatening as he bent down to pick up a metal rod from the ground, striking it against his palm as a warning. The man swung his arm as if to emphasize his intent. Giant didn't back down. Instead, he took a deliberate step forward, his piercing eyes silently issuing a challenge. "Go ahead, try me." A gentle breeze swept through the park as Giant suddenly lowered his head, sniffing the air with remarkable precision. One of the men noticed and burst out laughing. "What, is it sniffing me for fun?" he jeered. But Giant paid no attention to the mockery. He had detected something they hadn't realized. One of them carried the unmistakable scent of gunpowder. Giant, trained to identify dangerous chemicals, instantly recognized that this was no ordinary robbery. His instincts screamed that the situation was far more serious. "We need to get out of here," Elon said, his voice calm but tense. Deep down, he knew it wouldn't be that simple. Suddenly, one of the men lunged forward, reaching for Elon. But before he could lay a hand on him, Giant moved like lightning. With a powerful leap, the dog brought him crashing to the ground. The group froze, staring in shock at the massive dog growling fiercely, as if warning them that this was far from over. "Take that dog down," the leader barked, motioning to his cohorts. The two remaining men quickly drew more weapons, one wielding a long wooden stick, the other holding a length of rope. Clearly, they weren't just after Elon's belongings. They intended to subdue Giant as well. But Giant wasn't a dog that could be easily overpowered. He began to move with calculated precision, positioning himself to shield Elon while keeping the others within his line of sight. Every movement was deliberate and controlled, like a seasoned warrior strategizing on a battlefield. Elon stood frozen, his eyes a mix of worry and awe. He had always known Giant was highly trained, but this was the first time he witnessed the dog demonstrating his skills in real time. Not just to attack, but to protect. With breathtaking accuracy, the air grew oppressive, and time seemed to slow. Tension mounted as Elon realized that their only hope now was Giant. In that breathless moment, he understood that Giant was more than just a dog. He was a loyal protector, one who would never back down. Before anyone could react, Giant charged at the man with the knife like a bolt of lightning. His powerful jaws clamped onto the man's wrist, forcing the blade to clatter to the ground. A scream of pain tore through the air, but Giant didn't let go. "Get it off him!" another man yelled, rushing forward with a wooden stick. But Giant released his first target just in time, dodging the incoming strike by a hair's breadth. With astonishing agility, he countered, taking down the man with the stick in a single leap. The third man, now trembling, backed away, trying to maintain composure but failing to mask his fear. "It's just a dog. It can't stop us," he shouted, pulling a rope from his pocket. But Giant, like a seasoned warrior, sprang into action before the man could make a move. The man fell backward, scrambling to speak, but all he managed was stammered, incoherent sounds. Giant pinned him to the ground, his sharp teeth mere inches from the man's throat. A deep growl rumbled from Giant, a silent declaration: every mistake comes with a price. The two remaining men stood frozen, paralyzed by the dog's strength and decisiveness. Giant wasn't just a dog. He was a true warrior, powerful, intelligent, and unstoppable. Elon, standing a few steps away, kept a calm but watchful gaze on the scene. He knew this was the pivotal moment. "Do any of you still want to try your luck?" he asked, his voice low but commanding. His words poured fuel on the growing fear within the criminals. The leader, still clutching his injured wrist, staggered to his feet and yelled, "Let him go. All right, we're leaving." He clutched his wrist in pain as he spoke. But Giant wasn't about to let them off that easily. A thunderous bark echoed through the park, stopping all three men in their tracks, as if their feet had been glued to the ground. At that moment, a police patrol car pulled up, its red and blue lights cutting through the night and reflecting off the trees. The criminals' faces twisted with panic. "We didn't do anything," one of them yelled desperately as officers stepped out of the car. Before they could even think about running, Giant moved to block their escape, his growl a clear message. "Don't even try." Elon exhaled deeply, finally allowing himself a moment of relief. He crouched down and patted Giant gently. "You did so well, my friend. Truly, you were amazing," he said softly. As the officers began surveying the scene and cuffing the criminals, Elon couldn't help but reflect on how Giant wasn't just a protector. He was a silent hero. But the story wasn't over yet. There was still so much more to uncover about this extraordinary dog. The officers approached quickly, their flashlights casting beams of light onto the pale, anxious faces of the three men. Giant remained steadfast, standing guard in front of Elon, his sharp eyes never leaving the criminals, as they attempted feeble excuses. "Are you all right, Mr. Musk?" one officer asked, his gaze shifting to Giant with evident curiosity. "I'm fine, thanks to Giant," Elon replied, pride glinting in his eyes. "He handled everything before you even arrived." As one officer moved to handcuff the leader, the man began protesting loudly. "We didn't do anything. This is just a misunderstanding." But his pleas were abruptly cut off as Giant took a step closer, emitting a low, unmistakable growl. A subtle but firm warning, "Not here, not now." One officer paused, his eyes narrowing in recognition. A smile broke across his face as he turned to his colleague. "No way! Is that Giant from the 9 unit? The one who helped crack that big case in Phoenix last year?" Hearing this, the criminals' expressions shifted to utter terror. The leader stammered, "Cops, police dog. How were we supposed to know?" The other officer chuckled, glancing at the men's horrified faces. "If you'd known, maybe you would have chosen a different target. Giant isn't just any dog. He's a legend. He's helped us solve dozens of cases and taken down plenty of guys just like you." As the criminals were escorted away, one of them mustered a final ounce of bravado, turning back to issue a feeble threat. "This isn't over. One day, you'll all pay for this." But this time, Elon stepped forward, his gaze steady but firm. "That day will never come," he said with quiet authority. "Because in this society, there's no place for those who defy the law." Standing tall beside him, Giant's eyes stayed locked on the man, reinforcing Leon's words with silent resolve. "You've already lost." As the criminals were loaded into the patrol car, an officer pointed toward a security camera mounted on a nearby lamppost. "Good. We've got the whole thing on tape. There's no way these guys can deny anything with evidence this clear." A seasoned officer approached Elon, his gaze fixed on Giant. "Mr. Musk, this dog is truly extraordinary. In my career, I've seen many remarkable working dogs, but Giant is a legend." Leon smiled softly, leaning down to pat Giant's head. He's a true warrior. But I think what makes him special isn't just his skill. It's the loyalty he shows to me and to everyone he protects." Elon said, his voice gentle, his eyes glimmering with pride. The officer nodded in agreement, his tone filled with respect. "Dogs like Giant don't just protect us. They teach us about loyalty, responsibility, and courage. These are qualities even humans can learn from them. Dogs like Giant don't just serve a purpose, they inspire an entire community." Elon looked at Giant, his expression thoughtful. "You're right," he said quietly. "They don't just guard us from danger. They remind us of what truly matters in life. The officer smiled, placing a reassuring hand on Lily's shoulder. You're very lucky, Mr. Musk, but I think Giant is just as lucky to have someone who understands and values him like you do. Standing upright, Elon watched as the criminals were escorted into the police car. Giant stood steadfast by his side, his sharp eyes never leaving them, as if ensuring once more that everything was under control. For a moment, Elon gazed at Giant with newfound understanding. This dog was not just a companion. He was a symbol of courage and justice. Tonight, Giant's actions would resonate far beyond the boundaries of this park. The next morning, the story of Giant's dramatic confrontation in the park spread like wildfire. Social media was flooded with posts praising the courageous dog and Elon Musk's calm leadership during the crisis. But the story didn't stop at admiration. It sparked action. A new online campaign called Honor Giant was launched, urging people to adopt retired 9 dogs rather than letting these heroes be forgotten. One afternoon, while Elon was relaxing on his porch, a neighbor arrived with a drawing her daughter had made. It depicted Giant under a starry sky, with the words, "Protector of Justice." The little girl shyly thanked Giant for keeping Mr. Musk and everyone safe. Giant lowered his head in a friendly gesture and wagged his tail, making Elon smile warmly. A week later, returning to the park, Elon and Giant noticed a new plaque erected at the site of the confrontation. The plaque honored Giant, inscribed with the words, "Dear Giant, the legendary dog, protected his owner and society with unwavering loyalty, courage, and a steadfast commitment to justice." Looking at Giant, who stood calmly beside him, Elon bent down and gently patted the dog's head. "You know, Giant, this plaque isn't for me. It's all because of you. If this story has touched your heart, we'd love for you to share its message by liking and sharing it with your friends. Help us reach our first milestone of 1,000 subscribers. It means the world to us and allows us to create more meaningful stories for you. Don't forget to share your thoughts about the story and let us know which city you're watching from. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you in our next story.